president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Professor Emmanuel Osudeke, has stated that nothing progressive has emerged to see an end to the warning strike embarked upon by the body. The university teacher strike, which is in its fourth week and billed to end tomorrow, has been hinged on the union's demands on the revitalization of public universities and academic allowances, renegotiation of the 2009 ASUU Federal Government of Nigeria Agreement, and inconsistencies in the integrated payroll and personnel information system, IPS, as it is known. We'll now focus on the key issues involved in the ongoing strike. And joining us from our Rise Abuja studio for that is Professor Kemi Rotimi, a professor of history at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. Professor Rotimi, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Ruben. Sorry I came a little late, but that was the fault of the Uber driver.
Yeah, I was a bit disturbed about that because I was really worried that you got here late and our first guest is also late. But let's put that aside. Now, 1 month later, deadline is tomorrow. ASUU has not been able to make any headway with the federal government of Nigeria. What, in your opinion, is a problem? What really is going on? ASUU is quite firm in saying that the federal government of Nigeria has not respected agreements. Memorandum of understanding, memorandum of agreement, and meanwhile, the people bearing the brunt of all of this are students and their parents and the university system that has been shut down. What's your take on this matter?
Thank you very much, Ruben. The problem with this 2009 agreement is the lack of courage on the part of the federal government to declare that it cannot honor that agreement as entered into in all of its essence. From all indications, it would appear that the nation's resources have not quite increased, yet these demands have been made, these commitments have been entered into, and therefore this ding-dong. The basis for ASUU being uncomfortable with the lack of respect for agreement is established. But, truth be told, the federal government cannot implement the agreement in its pure sense, as ASUU demands it. So I really don't think there will be an end to the ding-dong unless one party summons the courage to declare that we are incapable, and that party is the federal government. So that ASUU can then decide for itself whether it will go on strike forever or seek a renegotiation in a manner that is agreeable to both the owners of the university and the operators of the system.
Well, Professor Rotimi, the last time you were on this station, not on This Day Live, but on the morning show, you were very critical of ASUU, particularly the branch at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, where you teach history. And, but today you seem to be saying something different. You seem to be a bit more supportive of ASUU. What happened? Were you intimidated to change your position?
Well, if you have now decided to provoke me, as the local branch of ASUU did at their last convention or congress, I will avoid coming into combat with you because we have too many things in common. I have not shifted 1 inch from where I stood then. The question then was about ASUU, especially the local branch, coming to equity with very unclean hands, and that position still stands, even when they declared me a confused member at the last Congress. Well, I'm as clear-headed as most of them know, and it is not in my place to bandy words with people who are now university lecturers, but who are in diapers when I started teaching in 1982 as an academic. So what's the point? If I'm a confused academic, I have my book that I've written. I'm retiring next year at age 66, just so that I can pursue my passion of writing more books on policing in Nigeria. They need to examine their heads before declaring somebody like me a confused member, just because of my criticism of aspects of their conduct. What I have stated this afternoon is about the impracticability of the federal government of Nigeria implementing the 2009 ASUU agreement. And I have just said that the federal government has to make up its mind and declare to Nigerians and to ASUU, sorry, we cannot make it. This government didn't sign that agreement. But government is a continuum. If a government enters into an agreement blindsided or with his hand tied behind his back, well, but the obligation to implement an agreement entered into by another government is not always that clean and clear. It happens with most governments. I'm saying that the federal government should declare its incapacity to implement the 2009 agreement in its pure essence, as ASUU is demanding. Take, for instance, the issue of IPPIS. IPPIS is neither here nor there. I enrolled when they asked us to enroll, but the salary they pay me from one month to another varies. At the best of times, they give me 427,000 naira. Professor, last step, last scale. In January, we're now in March. For January, they paid me 407,000. I do not know how 20-something thousand got off again. I don't know what they're going to pay at the end of March. So that's a challenge with IPPIS. But for some of us, the instinctive rejection of every move that government makes by ASUU is not acceptable. We don't own the universities, that's the truth. We're just teachers there. So, Ruben, I've not shifted position. I'm merely saying, as the Yorubas put it, kaberon we, kaberon we.
Well, Prof, okay, what is the alternative that you recommend? Since you seem to be convinced that the Nigerian government will not honor the agreement. And the major issue between stakeholders, constituencies, and the Nigerian government has always been, okay, what is your recommendation? There are people who say, for example, that the Nigerian government has no business funding the federal university system. Why can't people just pay? The same parents who send their children abroad and they pay so much, why can't they just, embrace appropriate pricing? And you say, well, you are 66, you are planning to resign. The retirement age is 70. You say you will resign next year. And even the way you address is suspicious. Prof, are you planning to go into politics? Because it's the political season and the bug, it can be very infectious. So are you dropping the chalk so that you can go to where you will get better pay as a politician?
Okay, let's start from the last point you have just made. Coming to your studios in my Agbada, which I had made 2 years back, cannot be because of this interview. And the way you have put it now explains why you ran away from Ogun State University when you were supposed to be teaching drama there, because you wanted better life. But when you look closely at my career, a bit of which you know of, I've been in Ife since 1982 as a teacher. So 40 years, still counting, haven't I tried, Ruben, or to call you as Koro, call you Ruben. Now, dressing in this Agbada, yes, a bit of it is about the vanity of the moment. What's the point coming to your studio and dressing in a torn shirt and trousers, patched with some miserable wool or thread? Putting on this Agbada simply shows that I also have life in me. And I can advertise it that as I was coming up, the compliments were so effusive that I was feeling very good within me. I'm not a senator, I've not stolen anybody's money, but I have no apologies to make for looking good. Bashiri Lankoni. Now, so dressing well is part of my DNA and I do this occasionally. I did it in the university the other day when I went to Senate, bedecked in Agbada, and head stunned, and then I enjoyed the moment. It's about vanity. A bit of it I'm entitled to. Now, talking about alternatives to the funding of universities, the federal government is its worst enemy. All of these federal governments that we have had. In one breath, you complain about paucity of funds, at times verifiable, but you wake up the next morning to pronounce universities into existence. The new craze in town is to create universities of medicine. You make it look like there are teachers to be plucked from the top of a tree behind the villa or in any of the government lodges. Truth be told, the quantum of lecturers available now in Nigeria is far, far, far less than we really should have. But this Indianization of tertiary education, very amusing. You have all kinds of ojule universities now with all manner of proprietors, some necromancers, some 419ers, creating universities. And then the older established universities are the ones bearing the brunt, where you now have lecturers in Ife who moonlight in Ife, but actually do the running around. And these universities proliferate in the Southwest. There are colleagues, younger ones, who go to 5 universities to teach in a day. They end up in Ife, tired, hungry, and angry, and then begin to get very nasty to the students for whom they are primarily paid. Now, what's the point about creating universities when you have no funds for them? And then when you create universities of medicine, you make it look like it's the same thing as starting a clinic, a dispensary. I mean, when a university of medicine is a technical specialized university, buying equipment alone will ruin any government that is really committed to it. Not to talk of this one that we have, but people are excited. You locate the university in a particular town, then they shop for Omowane Joshie to be vice chancellor, and then that take-off fund is what everybody is targeting. Between the new vice chancellor and the contractor to build the schools, they know what they do with these things. So the government is not serious about its disposition. And that's where ASUU keeps exploiting the government's own weaknesses to tyrannize the government. ASUU tyrannizes government because some of the claims we make are just outlandish. Now, and we are responsible for why government cannot summon the courage to charge what I call appropriate fees. When once if I tried to raise the thing to about 20,000 for humanities and about 25 for science, all hell broke loose. But the little time we collected the thing, it was as if El Dorado had come. How do you train a child in a high fee pay in secondary school? Then he comes to OAU to pay 90 naira for bed space for one session. And then maybe 5,000 for registration and all that nonsense. It doesn't go anywhere, all in the name of free tuition. What is free tuition? Government has to make up its mind what exactly it wants. And this thing goes down the line. It applies to policing, it applies to education. Just this whole thing about the federal government wanting to own everything. It doesn't work that way. And there have been experiments with private universities that have been hugely successful. Take Covenant, for instance. In the period when first-class graduates were given automatic scholarship to go abroad, before some National Assembly members got up to say that the thing was going in only one direction. And they killed it. Covenant used to collect most of the prizes. And all because Oyedepo runs the place like a senior prefect. If you're a lecturer there and you are not found in class when you should be, you are fired. But at OAU, the lecturer has woken up, he has gone to Jabu to teach. Leaves Jabu for Iwo. And then from there, it detours into Ilesha and ends up in Ife at about 5:30 p.m. when all the lectures for the day are almost coming to an end. This lack of commitment, it's on the part of government, it's also on the part of teachers. And that's why I'm saying those who come to equity must come with clean hands. So it's about the owners of the university not being serious about giving tertiary education, and about the operators of the university not also being serious about university charging appropriate fees.
Okay, Prof, are you optimistic that ASUU will end the warning strike tomorrow when it effectively reaches 1 month? And then what are your recommendations on both sides. What do you recommend?
ASUU, since it calls it warning strike, most likely we end it tomorrow. If fights and runs away, leaves to fight another day or something like that. But you can be sure that because it is a warning strike, what it means is that there could be a resumption at short or no notice. If I were to be selfish, I would pray that the strike should go on forever, so that the young students that I have recruited to work for me in my research center, I know I'm very busy now, can carry on doing my work for me, and I'm paying them. But then, they are also my students and they are suffering. And I've already given indication that I'm leaving the system. My accumulated leave of 112 days must be utilized, and I just can't wait for ASUU to end the strike. Now, the recommendation that you're asking for is not, there's no recommendation that you make to the current leadership of ASUU that is likely to really work, other than obliging them that which they say they want. The government needs the courage to declare to ASUU this up to this point and no more. Let's see what's going to happen. Heavens will not fall. But we cannot go on tinkering and then you're asking for the bishops and the imams and the KBSs and the OBs and the emirs to intervene. And then we make it look like we're village children, even university teachers. And occasionally, some of my colleagues behave like area boys. You saw them on television the other day dramatizing how they were going to tyrannize Ogubodede. Ogubodede is about finishing his term. You came to Equity without clean hands, making claims that are false, patently false, for money that you wanted to collect over the EAA thing. Ogubodede says, I cannot pay you any money without verification. Is that the kind of leadership that are going to do business with? I mean, and because Kemi Rotimi came to our studio and declared that some of these human beings calling themselves ASUU leaders are just traders. They're not even academics. Some have been lecturer grade 1 for like 10, 12 years, and they are not bothered. And they are the ones leading the likes of us. Of course, I mean, I'm too old in the system now to worry about what anybody does. I've carved a niche for myself, and I'm pursuing it with passion. I have books to write on policing, and I want to be free from the encumbrance that teaching constitutes, and then this nonsense work stoppages, very irritating. So let me leave, collect my gratuity before some people will do election with it, and then do whatever I like with it. I have books to write, and some of them are transcontinental. So I can't sit down in the classroom wasting my time. Before age 70, I ought to do 4 more books on policing.
Well, Prof, but just before we go, you know, these books, these thoughts, these theories on policing, do you think that the system, the policing system in Nigeria, the leadership, do they even read these books? Because the average Nigerian listening to you is likely to say, yes, Prof wants to write books, transformational books. He wants to change the system with his ideas. But who is reading those books? Really? Because the police institution remains a problem to Nigeria.
I have not told you that the books I want to write are transformational books. I'm not what do you call these people? Everybody's a keynote speaker. What do you call them? Inspirational speakers. No, I'm not that kind of. I'm a historian. I probe into the past of the police with a lot of wisdom. And you know, because I've shared some of them with you. I've told you, for instance, this nonsense they call community policing is not going anywhere. You can spend all the budget of Nigeria. At the end of the day, you have community and you have policing, but you never have community policing. My books are targeted at showing that policing in Nigeria has a history and a very rich one at that, you know, and that there are best practices that we could have copied from. Community policing, I insist, that was what the Emirates of Northern Nigeria practiced with the NA police system, and that was community policing par excellence. How many Nigerians know that Ado Bayero ever wore uniform? So what I write from the historical angle. And for your information, you are right about this. There's no reading culture here. I have produced not less than 4,000 copies of my book in its first form and in the second one. A good number sent to police colleges. The leadership will collect the copies, put in their portmanteau, and go home when they are redeployed. Because we do not see any sign of anybody reading anything anyway. But that is not the life of an academic. What is not touched today could be the Bible tomorrow. So for me, I'm just keeping faith with my discipline as a historian. Whether anybody finds knowledge or wisdom, fine. Whether anybody does not find knowledge or wisdom, tough luck. So it's about my passion as a historian, not to transform police. You cannot readily transform police when you centralize everything. Nigeria, there are too many things that are centralized. And as I have insisted at every forum that I've had the opportunity to speak, deregulating policing is not a novelty. Nigeria pre-66 had a double-layered policing system. The DNA police system at the local government level in all of northern Nigeria, a substantial part of western Nigeria. Only the East didn't have the thing. But the military came, baby and bathwater thrown away. The wisdom of 1966 has become the foolishness of 2000 and 2001 and 2022. Now you're hankering after going back and you're talking community policing. Just a buzzword. Community policing is a donor agency funded program, and most of them don't go anywhere. The donor collects the money up front. The Nigerian and local players collect theirs by the side.
Okay, no Professor Kemi Rotimi, thank you very much for joining us on this live. But as you were speaking, I got a message from some of your colleagues from ASUU OAU IFE. They say they are asking for a right of reply, and that what you have done is to throw them under the bus. And they are saying that, well, they hope that Arise News will give them an opportunity to reply to some of the allegations you made about them. And we are open, we're completely neutral in these controversies, and you can be sure we'll give them the opportunity. But I would like to thank you very much for joining us.